Alright, so I've been saving this video for last night. So I wanted to just come on here and just talk about this topic because it's been what, 2-3 days since they released the article about this. But I think we all know what the Power Rangers are going to end up looking like in the reboot. Whether it's going to be Mighty Morphin or a new original team. Not from somebody from Twitter that says they changed the color scheme because making the Green Ranger the leader is kind of dumb, and I'm not really rocking with this. If it is going to be like that, then I'm not going to be excited about the reboot. However, even though we really don't know what the reboot might look like, it's just some conspiracy theories of what this project is going to end up being about. But as a 32-year-old man who has grew up with this franchise for about 30 years, I do want to see this franchise succeed and up their game. Just try something original without using the Sentai footage. I think that could work if they wanted to. It says, what will the Power Rangers reboot look like? 6 mighty theories about the franchise's future. With Cosmic Fury wrapping up 30 years of Power Ranger stories, the next Power Ranger season has the chance to reinvent the franchise. And hey, that's what we're here to talk about. Power Rangers Cosmic Fury offered a conclusion to the saga's first 30 seasons, meaning now is the perfect time for a Power Rangers reboot to reinvent the franchise. A young adult Power Rangers series has been in the works for a couple of years, but not a lot is known about the project. Power Rangers Cosmic Fury's ending felt like a finale not only for the newest season, but for the show as a whole, which opens the door for the next Power Rangers show to be a fresh start for the saga. Power Rangers Super Sentai adaptations have defined the show for the past 30 years. However, considering that Cosmic Fury worked relatively well without relying too much on the Sentai footage minus the Q-Ranger footage, there may be a future for Power Rangers beyond the original formula. A young adult reboot could introduce a new generation of the saga, either through original characters or reimagined version of the classic heroes. I need to speak on this because I feel like with original heroes, I really don't mind them trying something new, as long as it doesn't come off as wokish, tokenish, and try to introduce a certain person of an identity or whatever though. But I think you know what I'm trying to say. But the point I'm trying to make here is that I really don't want them to just do too much of what's going on in the industry. But I just want them to just continue on with the male Rangers leading and all of that. Just do what you gotta do to get the franchise off the ground right, instead of just having it be forced down on people's throats, which is gonna turn some people off. I mean, I'm open to them having new original ideas. I think it'll work for the better. But if you're gonna reboot the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, at least you could do is make sure that each character has a development and have it make sense, where they can't just be there without them having a backstory. You know, the original show didn't really make any sense. It's just nostalgia. So even though I do appreciate some things, a lot of things they've done in their original run, but sometimes I feel like the show, especially season 1, didn't really make any sense because the Rangers were just there. We don't know anything about their backstory other than their hobbies and all of that. But what did they really come from? So I think for the reboot, they'll have a better chance of explaining all of that to us. Although unlikely, the possibility of a new Super Sentai adaptation cannot be ruled out. The Power Rangers reboot is expected to be an all-original series that will reinvent the franchise for a new generation after 30 years of Sentai adaptations. But whether the current formula will be abandoned entirely remains to be seen. Now, I don't know about the whole abandoning it, like they try to completely get rid of Super Sentai adaptation and just try to focus more on the original formula, because if you're trying to completely get rid of Super Sentai for Power Rangers adaptations, that would feel like a slap in the face to those who grew up with Super Sentai and Power Rangers together. I mean, to some degrees, I get it why they want them to just stop using Sentai for Power Rangers though, for a lot of goofy reasons for a kids show. But you don't really have to completely get rid of Sentai, because that's like me getting rid of something that meant a lot to people, especially those who grew up with the one thing that made them love the franchise in the first place, to throw in something new that's gonna try to force it down on people's throats, that's gonna cause people to drift away from the franchise. That's the last thing you want to do, is completely get rid of something that made the franchise famous in the first place. Although, if they are going to continue to adapt the Sentai, don't copy what the Sentai did as far as like being all goofy and stuff we have in the current version now, where nowadays it's just kiddie and stuff. Because back then it was not kiddie at all. It was not all kid family friendly. It was serious, it was mature, it was dark, and it was way more violent. Then I think that's what the Power Rangers reboot need. Because when you look at the Sentai, I think chances are the Power Rangers reboot might end up being the exact same thing. More mature, more serious, more violent, but without the blood and stuff. Because we don't need to see nobody being killed and nothing like that. It doesn't have to be like this Mortal Kombat of Power Rangers. So let's not get ahead of ourselves this time. Power Rangers Cosmic Fury has significantly wrapped up the saga that began with Mighty Morphin, yet it also left the door open for future stories, namely with Billy learning about Zonon's return. The Super Sentai adaptation formula has worked for 3 decades, and series such as Kyonger or Dawn Brothers could make for a fun Power Rangers seasons. Now here's the thing, what they could do with King Ultra for a Power Rangers adaptation. Instead of using the Sentai footage, they could just make their own, because they're not in New Zealand anymore. So we really don't know where their next locations is gonna be when they were filming Power Rangers and stuff. Whether it's in Canada, Atlanta, or even California. Because when you think about it, they got some good practical CGI effects for the robots, right? Like, look at Pacific Rim, look at Transformers Bumblebee. You can bring in Travis Knight to work on the Zord design to make it look more realistic, but yet bigger. So, better yet, what you can do is just adapt King Ultra, but not use Japanese footage, but be completely original with your own original ideas. But you can use the suits, but add some modern style twist to it, you know what I'm saying? I think that will work for Power Rangers. But as for the Power Rangers reboot, I think what they should do is just go original. But if they're not, just go with new reimagined Mighty Morphin team, but make sure the story makes sense or take some elements from the comics. That what you can do. One of the easiest ways to reboot Power Rangers is the form of a new TV series. Would be to remake Mighty Morphin. While Power Rangers is more than Mighty Morphin, it cannot be denied that the franchise is still synonymous with the original series. Characters like Zonon, Alpha, and the original Rangers are still some of the pop culture's most recognizable names, and the Mighty Morphin reboot will benefit from this level of recognition. The Power Rangers has rebooted Mighty Morphin before, but it happened as the movie rather than the TV show. 2017's Power Rangers never got a sequel. I've spoken about the 2017 Power Rangers movie numerous times, and while I am still not a big fan of the franchise, well, the movie itself, because it was not Power Rangers to me. Because if you're gonna adapt something that is based off of Mighty Morphin, at least you could do is just make the Zords and the helmets and the costumes look more recognizable. The problem is the Power Rangers movie was none of that. So for anybody that is defending the 2017 movie, you're delusional. Because if you were like me, if you would have had common sense to realize that Hollywood just doesn't know how to reboot the franchise without being completely original, and rather than just staying close to the source material, I think that's the biggest turnoff for me, is them rebooting something that, if they're not gonna stay close to the source material, don't reboot anything. But as far as like Mighty Morphin goes, yes, there are other Power Rangers teams that are better than Mighty Morphin. I wouldn't mind them actually rebooting Mighty Morphin one more time, but just try it again, get it right, and make sure the fans love it, make sure it makes sense. Because I've said this 100 times. And I don't think a lot of people have been watching my videos would understand and realize that Mighty Morphin sells. And yes, you got Zeo, you got Turbo, you got Lost Galaxy, you got Time Force, you got Ninja Storm, you got SPD. But in most cases, they don't really sell that much. Mighty Morphin does. So it's because Mighty Morphin is the first, they're gonna probably continue on with Mighty Morphin until it dies. That's just my honest truth. I mean, I love Mighty Morphin, but I don't love it like that unless I make a video talking about different topics about the reboot, new Sentai adaptations, or whatever. As long as it's Power Rangers related, then I'm good. But I think that they might have to end up rebooting Mighty Morphin, because I personally believe that if you're gonna reboot the franchise, make sure it matches the source material. But don't make it cheesy, but make it more dark and mature. But don't do it to the point where somebody gets killed off. The 2017 movie tried it. I hated it. But at the end of the day, I just want them to just do it right. Take their time with their products, because they're already killing it with the Boom comics. Listen, the comics themselves make a lot more sense than the TV show. So it's like every season after Mighty Morphin has been stuck on continuity after continuity. It's like certain seasons have been connecting with Mighty Morphin since the Neo Saban started, and especially Megaforce. I want to be Day of the Dumpster, I want to be Mighty Morphin, or reimagining, but failed. It's like the Neo Saban just completely killed Power Rangers for me, you know what I'm saying? Like, I get it for the 6-year-olds, but at the same time, you don't need to keep talking down to your audiences, because the audiences are not dumb. I think that's the point I'm trying to make with this video. But get it back on topic. I think they're gonna end up rebooting Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and I want them to do that, because if the show's appreciation is known for is being nostalgia, the music, the fights, the iconic multi-parters like the Green Redeemer Saga, the Green Candle, Tommy becoming the White Ranger, Kimberly leaving the show, and the Rangers Command Center exploding in that god-awful Alien Ranger saga. But yeah, I think if the franchise needs to be rebooted, it's Mighty Morphin. Because like I said, I really don't mind them trying anything original, but if you do it right, great. As long as you don't go too woke with it, I'm fine. Boom Studios' Power Ranger comics, which never disregard the events of Mighty Morphin but still told the original stories, featuring those characters, is a great example of how to reimagine a classic show for a new generation. A live-action Mighty Morphin Power Rangers reboot could bring back elements such as Rita Repulsa, Angel Grove, and Putties, but in a more mature, serialized story. The show would have the chance to explore Jason, Zach, Kimberly, Billy, and Trini, and Tommy in a way that the original series never could. Even though Power Rangers needs a fresh start, revisiting Mighty Morphin would not be a problem if done right. That is exactly what I've been saying all the time. Take some elements from the comics, but make it more serialized, live action. Like, for the likes of me, every time I look at Netflix, I think of what the Power Rangers reboot might look like if it had a chance to be an Oscar-worthy TV show. It might be, it may not be not. But all I'm saying is that if it were to be an Oscar-worthy TV show with good acting and good writing, good action, good CGI effects, I think you're gonna have a good Power Rangers show and movie on Netflix with the right people that you can trust. I believe it might work. I personally believe it's gonna end up working. They already did fantastic with the 30th anniversary show, with the special, and Cosmic Fury was good as well. So honestly, I think what Netflix should do is reboot Mighty Morphin, but make sure that the costumes and everything is recognizable. We want to see some dinosaurs, but make sure the T-Rex is taller than the monster. That's all I'm gonna say. One likely scenario is that the new Power Rangers series will have no ties to the previous franchise. This original story will not be part of either the main chronology or the Power Rangers multiverse. The fact that there hasn't been any updates on the Power Rangers 31 Strong suggested that one likely scenario is that the new Power Rangers series will have no ties to the previous franchise. This original story will not be part of either the main chronology or the Power Rangers multiverse. The fact that there hasn't been any updates on the Power Rangers Season 31 strongly suggests that the franchise will start something new, and the young adult Power Rangers angle means the Power Rangers cannot simply pick up from where Cosmic Fury left off. Therefore, a new set of Rangers with a motif never used in previous shows will be a great way to reignite the saga. That is kind of interesting because, like I said, I love Power Rangers. I love the franchise, even though I hate some of the things they've done in the Neo Saban era and the Hasbro era. But you can't go wrong with the fact that we haven't had any update on Season 31. So if Season 31 does start, if it does continue to get Sentai adaptation, I would say make that for the kiddos, and then the Power Rangers reboot can just be a start over with the reimagining of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. You can have the Sentai adaptation with the kids, Power Rangers reboot with reimagining Mighty Morphin Power Rangers with the young adult, and an animation for the preschoolers, because that's how you make money. 3 shows. That's the franchise that is willing to just go above and beyond to just get this franchise off the ground. You know, that's how you make money. That's how you save the company. Moving away entirely from the main Power Rangers chronology that seemingly ended with Cosmic Fury could generate some criticism, but it would not be a bad idea. The legacy Power Rangers has built across 30 seasons would not be alternate, and a reboot series set in a completely different universe would allow the saga to grow in a different direction. Considering that the 2017 movie Reboot was not a box office hit, it was trash, by the way, Power Rangers needs to find another way to reinvent itself and expand its legacy beyond the classic TV shows. A proper reboot would also mean new characters, villains, Zords, and costumes. And that is exactly why I agree with this, because it's like you're watching your favorite wrestler with the same character for all these years. And then when it gets stale, they take some time off to get themselves together with their family to reinvent themselves, to reinvent their character. Then they come back as a brand new babyface, a brand new heel that is twice as bad as usual. I think those type of gimmicks alone would end up getting the fans cheering for them, that it's more love, like Roman Reigns when he came back in 2020 as a heel and leading the creation of the Bloodline, which is by far the best fashion in WWE history because of his heel gimmick. That was probably one of his best works, and if yet WWE's best angles of all time. So if they're doing that in wrestling, can you imagine the Power Rangers doing the exact same thing on Netflix, reinventing themselves? Whether it's going to be a reimagining of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers or a brand new original team, which is I'm totally fine with it. I think this franchise is going to end up blowing up even more. Merchandise is going to end up going crazy. T-shirts, product placements, brand deals, food sponsors. Like, look at what happened with the Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem movie. Look at how much sponsors it's got from Pizza Hut, Domino's, extra food chains, like even their toys, the merchandise, you name it. So when you think about it, the first time the Ninja Turtles had that population since 1987 when the cartoon series came out. Now, if the Power Rangers would have done the exact same thing with Hasbro, I think Hasbro would need to just up their game and just get on it hard. This could be a make or break deal for the Power Rangers franchise. This is a chance for them to actually show the world that they're here. The Power Rangers franchise is here to stay. They're not going anywhere. They're not playing around. We're here to show you that we are serious with our work. I think that is exactly what Jonathan Entwistle and the Power Rangers reboot needs. Some clear recognition, more love, more respect, and more care. As long as the reboot is done right, sign me up. A Power Rangers reboot is set in a different continuity, would not necessarily have to be completely disconnected from the previous franchise. Thanks to the Power Rangers Multiverse, which has technically exited since RPM, but was explored far more in the comics, Power Rangers can have multiple continues at the same time. The Power Rangers TV shows have covered 3 different universes, with RPM and Dino Charge, each taking place in a different timeline from the rest of the series. A new Power Rangers show could acknowledge the Saga's multiverse, even if it never featured crossovers or other major connections. I think that's the one thing I would have loved to see. Power Rangers be inspired by Marvel vs. Capcom, collaborating with one another from different universes and different timelines to fight off against the baddies who was trying to disconnect the multiverse. Like, if you could just somehow take inspiration from, take it with a grain of salt, MK versus DC Universe, that god-awful game from 2008. Like, the storyline goes between Mortal Kombat and DC Universe are being mind controlled by Shao Kahn and, damn, I forgot the dude's name, the villain. But I think you know what I'm talking about. So if Power Rangers can do that in the comics, can you imagine how it's going to look in a live action? So now that Power Rangers is back to being union, I think it's possible for certain actors to come back for certain shows or reunion special, or maybe just a different kind of special. But if they're open to do it, then hey, sign me up. Some of the best Power Rangers stories in recent years, especially in the comics, have been about the multiverse. The new series could even offer any universe explanation for its extensive width. With the help of concepts like time travel and alternate realities. Now, one of the biggest things I am not the biggest fan of is the time travel, because that right there could also ruin the plot. Like, they try to come up with a Power Rangers reboot that's gonna have them time travel back in the 90s so they can fight the 90s Power Rangers. Like, that's dumb. So I wouldn't even wanna like touch on that trash concept. Now look, at the end of the day, the only thing I wanna see is this franchise growing. I wanna see them try something new, whether it's gonna be a reimagining of Mighty Morphin or it's gonna be completely original new team with an original villain. So hopefully this reboot will work out, because we haven't heard anything from Jonathan Entwistle other than he's working on the Karate Kid reboot. So maybe hopefully sometime in the future next year, he's gonna probably make some official announcements for the Power Rangers reboot, who's going to be cast as the new Rangers, with the Zords and the costumes are going to end up looking like. So we're keeping our eyes open. So link to the article down below. I'm out.